Alright, so Super Bowl 59 is almost here, and ahead of the game, the Eagles got several big updates, as A.J. Brown revealed some details that should have the Chiefs on notice, while one Eagles star surprisingly showed up on the injury report. But even so, there's really no reason to worry, and why do he and several of the Eagles' other big names have the attention of the Chiefs' best defender? Speaking of which, it seems like the Eagles could expose one of the Chiefs' biggest weaknesses, as they have a secret weapon that could prove to be a matchup nightmare for KC. Plus, why could Brandon Graham make a big impact in his final game? And what did Myles Garrett have to say about a potential trade to Philly? Well, we're going to talk about that and all the other news just ahead of Super Bowl 59, starting right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan, and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And the big game is almost here, as we are just a mere 3 days away from Super Bowl 59 between the Eagles and Chiefs, and I really could not be more ready at this point. So, obviously, we got a ton of news and info to get into regarding that game, but first, let's start off with an update on some news from a couple days ago, as if you'll remember, it was reported that the Eagles and Rams would take part in the NFL's first ever regular season game in Australia during the 2026 season, but turns out that may not be true after all, as when the Eagles meet LA in 2026, it's scheduled to be a home game for Philly, yet the Rams have now officially been announced as the home team for the Australia game, so that essentially eliminates the Eagles from contention to be their opponent, barring some sort of never-before-seen schedule switch-up. And honestly, that is fine by me because traveling 20 plus hours one way down to Australia in the middle of the season sounds like a pretty big inconvenience to say the least. So, while we could very well still see the Eagles play there eventually, I am happy that it'll be some other teams trying it out first. However, hopefully no team beats the Eagles to the punch this offseason when it comes to trading for superstar edge rusher Myles Garrett, as of course we all know that the four-time first-team All-Pro and 2023 Defensive Player of the Year requested a trade this past Monday, which prompted a ton of rumors and speculation about what team could possibly be his next destination. And the Eagles were a team that came up a lot, in large part because of GM Howie Roseman's reputation of making blockbuster moves, and also the fact that Garrett himself seems open to a move to Philly, just based on some comments that he had made back after a joint practice with the Eagles in 2023. And fast forward to Wednesday, after Garrett had made the trip down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and it's been made even more clear that he would love to be traded to Philly.
Future Eagle!
Future Eagle right here!
Future Eagle! Come on, Mayo!
When you walk around here today, what's the one team that you got the most? Hey, come join my team.
Oh, man. The Eagles have been out in full force. I've heard a good amount from Detroit, and Commanders have spoken up a couple times as well.
And the Eagles, right? They're in the big game.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman's always wheeling and dealing. We even have some of their media right here to the right recording this conversation. My old boss, Spike Eskin and Ike Reese, they're chanting at you, come to Philadelphia. You could see yourself eating some cheesesteaks and winning a championship in the city of brotherly love.
I mean, we went there for a preseason. I definitely got me a cheesesteak. It lived up to my hopes, and I'm not gonna stay too attached to any one team at this point. I know my fate really is in my hands, but it would be a hell of a destination.
Yeah, so after watching those two clips, you just can't tell me that Garrett doesn't want to be an Eagle. And as much crap as I've given to WIP, I gotta give those guys a shout out for what they did there, because that was pretty awesome. Now, obviously, like Garrett said, it's not going to be up to him where he eventually ends up getting traded to, so it's going to be up to Howie Roseman to get a deal done if he does determine that that's a move he wants to make. So we'll see what happens this offseason, but again, it's definitely worth noting that it does seem like Garrett would love to come to Philly. But in addition to Garrett, we also saw another non-Eagles, non-Chiefs player down in New Orleans ahead of the Super Bowl, as 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel was spotted in an Eagles A.J. Brown jersey ahead of the big game, and this is a weird look for multiple reasons, but the obvious one is that I just never thought I'd see Deebo in an Eagles jersey with all the antics and trash talk he's directed towards Philadelphia the past couple of years. But that said, him and A.J. Brown are friends, so it makes sense. And speaking of AJ, he just gave Eagles fans an update yesterday that was really nice to hear, as it's no secret that the All-Pro wide receiver had been dealing with a knee injury down the stretch of the regular season and also in the playoffs, and there's no denying that it was affecting him. I mean, heck, AJ was missing one, sometimes multiple practices in a week due to the injury, and it also partially caused him to have two pretty lackluster performances in the team's first couple of playoff games. That said, during the week of the NFC Championship, AJ took a big step forward in terms of his health, and he ended up having a great performance in that game. And now, ahead of the biggest game of the season in the Super Bowl, AJ seems to be feeling the best he's felt in a long time.
The first two games, honestly, I was hurt. That's just what it was.
you know. And last game I got healthy, and you all saw it.
How grateful are you in the biggest game of the year to be feeling good?
Yeah. Truly grateful. You know, I'm glad my teammates, you know, picked up my slack. You know, they did the first 2 games. You know, I was battling, but you know, it's no excuse. You know, I'm ready to go now.
Yeah, so that's obviously fantastic news, because the healthier AJ Brown is, the better. And with him not even being listed on the injury report anymore, I'd imagine that he's even healthier than he was in the NFC Championship, and in turn, he could be more effective and even more of a challenge for the Chiefs defense to slow down. So they better be ready, because even though they do have some really good corners over there in KC, as far as I'm concerned, nobody can guard AJ Brown one-on-one, especially when he's fully healthy. So look for Spags and the Chiefs to try and use a couple of different strategies to try and slow him down. The thing with this Eagles offense, though, is that it's pick your poison, really. Because if they focus their attention on A.J. Brown, okay, cool. That's just going to open up more opportunities for the other weapons in the passing game. And then, of course, you can't forget about the driving force of this offense, which is the run game with Saquon Barkley and that Eagles offensive line. Because that's been a scary combo all season long. And Chiefs defensive lineman Chris Jones knew that that would be the case the second Saquon signed with Philly.
Saw that the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley. What did you think? Did you think he'd have the success he's having this season?
I said, oh, we're in trouble. The league is in trouble. Yeah, they got Saquon, man. I think it's good for the game, though, man. It's good to see Saquon back being Saquon. I think we kind of got lost in the transit of playing for New York, and we forgot how special that kid is. And to see him back playing for his full potential, playing meaningful football in January and February, I'm happy for him.
Jones really couldn't have been more right, because Barkley absolutely tore the league up this season, and he's now just 30 yards shy of having the most rushing yards in a single season of all time, including postseason. So it's hard to imagine that he doesn't break that record and then do even more damage to Chris Jones' Chiefs in this one. And also, side note, even though he's the opponent this week, it's just kind of hard for me to hate on Chris Jones, because he always shows the Eagles love and respect. I mean, just listen to what he just said about Jalen Hurts.
What about quarterback Jalen Hurts? There is a lot of conversation, at least in Philadelphia. Can you put him in the elite quarterback category? What is your opinion on Jalen Hurts?
Can I put him in the elite quarterback? There's 2 Super Bowls in, the last 3 years? How can you not?
Yeah, so shout out Chris Jones. That said, I hope you have the absolute worst performance of your career on Sunday. But now, switching over to another guy that can make some history, with a win on Sunday, DeVonta Smith would become just the 5th player in history to win a Heisman Trophy, a national championship, and a Super Bowl, with the others being Marcus Allen, Tony Dorsett, Reggie Bush, and Charles Woodson. So, needless to say, that's some pretty elite company, and it'd be amazing to see DeVonta become the 5th player on that list. But he's going to look to do that, and more importantly, just win this Super Bowl while playing through some sort of hamstring injury, as Smitty was listed as a limited participant during Wednesday's practice with the issue after he had missed practice all last week. Now, the good news is that there's no question as to whether Smitty is going to play, as he had already confirmed last week that he is going to, but still, it's clear that the hamstring is either affecting him, or is at least something that the medical staff feels the need to stay on top of. So, hopefully, this hamstring doesn't limit DeVonta too much at all in this game, and I'm not going to say that it will, but this definitely will be something to monitor as we get closer and closer to the Super Bowl. And while there fortunately weren't any guys who missed practice, in addition to DeVonta, there were 3 more guys who were limited on Wednesday's injury report, those being Jalen Carter, Kenneth Gainwell, and Brandon Graham. Now, the big surprise there is no doubt Jalen Carter, but before you panic, it is just an illness that he's dealing with, so he should be good to go and ready to wreak havoc when the big game rolls around on Sunday. And he's also another guy who Chris Jones had extremely high praise for, as he said, quote, "He's a physical specimen. He's unorthodox. He's a young Fletcher Cox." So, for one, it's kind of hard to hate on Jones, but he's right. I mean, we know that Carter is obviously a freak of nature, and I definitely think that the Fletcher Cox comparison is valid. And Carter's obviously got the ability to take over games and just make a huge impact, as we've seen numerous times this season. So, hopefully, he can recover from his illness quickly and do it again in the Super Bowl to help shut down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense. And then, switching over to Brandon Graham, while he was also obviously limited as well, it's pretty clear at this point that he is going to play, and based on how he's been talking, it seems like this will be the final game of of his career. So ahead of the contest, BG has made it clear that he wants to go out the right way, not only with a win, but also by playing his best ball.
Make it your best. Make it your best one. And it's not nothing different that I would do other than just making sure that I'm enjoying the whole journey. Even today, we got practice. Make sure you go 100 miles. These last couple that you're going to be able to do, go out there so that it show up on the field. And I'm just happy that I'm able to play in this last one.
Man, I love that mentality from BG. Because if this is it, then why not leave it all on the line, right? And honestly, I could see BG making a pretty solid impact in this game. I mean, it sounds like he's pretty close to fully healthy. We've seen him come through in big moments time and time again throughout his entire career. And also, the Birds' run defense has been significantly better this year when BG's been on the field. So, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing how big of an impact he can make in this final game. Because again, I think he's definitely capable of it. And man, just hopefully he can go out the right way with a ring. And also, get your 55 Legend tees now and get 20% off using promo code BG55 using the link down in the description. But moving on, in regards to the Eagles' overall injury news, it's all clearly good, as I think all 4 of the guys who were limited will end up playing. Now, unfortunately, Lane Johnson actually gave us a surprise and revealed that he's been playing through a pinky injury for 3 weeks that he just hasn't gotten an x-ray for, but you know that that's not going to slow him down at all. Like, it's a pinky injury, come on now. And we know how tough Lane Johnson is, and a similar thing can be said about the Eagles' other injured linemen in Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, as despite dealing with more serious injuries, they were both full participants Wednesday, and both have made it clear that they will play in the Super Bowl. And Dickerson specifically was asked what it would take for him to not finish that game, and he said, quote, probably getting carted off on the stretcher. So if that's not warrior mentality, then I don't know what is. And overall, I mean, it's just remarkable how healthy this team is at this point. And it's obviously just going to be huge to have all these guys playing in the most crucial game of the season. And that includes tight end Dallas Goedert, who has been dealing with an ankle injury, but again, will be good to go for the Super Bowl. And there's actually very good reason to believe that Goedert could be super important in this game, and actually the secret weapon the Eagles offense could use to expose one of the Chiefs' biggest weaknesses. As if you look at what KC has done on defense, they try and take away the other team's biggest playmakers the best that they can, which in this game I guess that would be Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, which, newsflash, I really don't see them stopping either one of them, especially Saquon. But still, the more attention they devote to those guys, the less attention that is on somebody like Goedert, who has quietly had a very good playoff run so far. As through 3 games, the tight end has 15 catches for 188 yards and a touchdown, and overall, we know how good Goedert is and how badly he's capable of hurting a defense, and in this game against KC, he might have his most favorable matchup yet, as not only will the majority of the defense's attention not be directed at him, but the Chiefs also have been the worst team at covering tight ends this year, as they are dead last in yards allowed to tight ends on the season. So I don't know about you, but I'm definitely expecting the Eagles to take advantage of this Chiefs' weakness and for Goedert to have a big performance. But that said, what do you guys think? Just how big of a performance will Goedert have in the Super Bowl? You guys can let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, I got one more video coming ahead of Super Bowl Sunday, and then after that, I'm going to be covering the Eagles throughout the entire offseason, whether it's the fallout from the Super Bowl, to free agency, to the draft, to OTAs, training camp, all that stuff. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then make sure you subscribe, and also really, really importantly, turn on notifications. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like as well to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to 600 likes on today's video. And also, again, make sure you guys get your 55 Legend tees now, and you can get 20% off using the link down in the description with code BG55. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video going over some stuff from earlier in the week, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.